it can perform in challenging circumstances. I will try to do an impersonation of Satya and see how that works. And you can see that was a great match score there, 82.75%. And you can see these images are quite different.
I like your cosplay here. It's Good morning, everyone, and welcome to OpenCV Weekly Webinar Episode 103. That's 103, if you can believe that. I am your host with the most, the second banana who is second to none. I'm also your plus one and only. It's Mr. Nelson, if you're nasty, and I'm the man with the power of the pencil. But you, I think by now you know, can call me Phil. And I'm here with our guests this week, Varun Chatterjee and Fu Yi of 7 Cents, who are a top 10 National Institute and Standard and Technology face verification project. They are the power behind OpenCV Face Recognition, which is the subject of today's show. Please, folks, say hello and introduce yourself briefly to the people out there, and then I'll finish my spiel.
Hey guys, so I'm the co-founder and CTO at 7 Cents. It's great to be here on the show and share what we have with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Fu Yi. I'm the product owner from 7 Cents. So we are very exciting to share all the knowledge and also face recognition related industry knowledge, not only technical side, with all of you.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much both for being here. Before we get started, there's a few things I need to remind you of. The first of which is we are doing a giveaway to you in the audience. Stay tuned. Later in the episode, I will be asking you a trivia question, and the first person to answer that question here in the Zoom chat will win the OpenCV course of their choosing. If you're not in the Zoom audience yet, you can get there right now by going to opencv.live. That's opencv.live. It'll pop you into the Zoom chat and you'll be able to participate in the Q&A and in our giveaway later in the episode. We're also doing questions from you in the audience, which we will do our best to answer during the show. You can use the Zoom Q&A button at the bottom of the screen there to ask your question at any time during the show, or you can ask your question in the chat system wherever you're watching. We're live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., etc. So please keep those questions coming in and we will do our best to answer them as time permits. Before we get started, though, I want to briefly remind everybody about the upcoming Embedded Vision Summit. I'm going to share my screen real quick. So this is a big deal because it is the first time that I'm aware of that OpenCV will be having a booth at this event, or really any event. So we hope you will join us. It's here in Santa Clara, California. It's just across the street from the San Francisco 49ers football stadium, which is quite the sight if you've never seen it. May 22nd to 24th, the OpenCV booth is 1008. That's 1008. We're over by the concessions, and we will have brand new OpenCV swag. For example, we will have stickers much like this one, which you can find, and if you can find me at the show, you can have for free. I will just give you one. We're also going to have little 1-inch buttons with the OpenCV logo on there. We will be showing off OpenCV face recognition with a little bit of a video there. We'll also probably have a flyer for you to check out. And there may be some other interesting features of the booth. So come check us out. Embedded Vision Summit, May 22nd to 24th. I'll be there. What more do you need? With that being said, I would love to introduce our guests today. I'm really excited to talk about OpenCV face recognition. Thank you for joining us. Take it away, folks.
Looks neat.
So this is us. We are working in collaboration with OpenCV, 7 Cents and OpenCV. We have launched this product called OpenCV Facial Recognition. And it's really exciting for us to see the world's largest computer vision library partnering with us to bring the world's top-rated face recognition technology to all of you guys. So, you know Phil, I'm Varun. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO at 7 Cents. And Fui already introduced her. She's the product owner for this. So let's start with a couple of misconceptions, common misconceptions around face recognition. So there's a lot of brouhaha around face recognition that, oh, this is something new and it's going to, subjugate the world and lead to a big brother type of scenarios. But actually, face recognition is a very old technology. It started in the 1960s. But what has happened is that there have been some really great advancements around machine learning, and that has made facial recognition highly accurate. So back in the day, people used to kind of take rules and like have measure distances between eyes, nose, mouth, and that's how they would go about doing face recognition. But now with the advent of modern machine learning and uh, um, artificial intelligence, this has become an extremely exciting and highly accurate field. The second misconception is that, with face recognition, there are going to be a lot of privacy risks. So, people think that their photos are going to get stored everywhere, and it's their face is going to get smattered across the media, or something bad is going to happen. But in reality, what happens is that face recognition typically works on feature vectors, which are the output from the machine learning algorithms. And these are only floating point numbers. So from the floating point numbers, it's really, really hard to kind of reverse engineer and get to a face from which these numbers were generated. And the third common misconception is that, well, all face recognition tech is the same. We have AWS recognition, we have Microsoft cognitive services, etc. And it's all probably the same. And the truth you couldn't be further from the truth on that. So, at 7sense, we have been working on this algorithm for 4 years, and we've been collecting data sets and refining them. And we arrived on the NIST leaderboard in Q1 22 in the top 10. And you won't see many of the companies that I previously mentioned over there. So we have actually, made some great strides in this area. So along with that, what about the challenges around face recognition? So, well, there is obviously the challenge of privacy and security. And, we tried very hard to address this challenge by firstly making sure that we are ISO 27001 compliant, we are SOC 2 compliant, and we are GDPR compliant. On the topic of accuracy, as I mentioned, we've spent a good part of the last 4 years perfecting our algorithm, refining the data sets, adding augmentations to our data, and really reaching world-class accuracy. And then the third problem is, well, if you're going to collect data sets on faces, different people from different parts of the world look different. So if you're going to have too many people from one part of the world, it's going to probably bias the algorithm. So this is also another challenge that we address through our data sets and our collection methodologies. And if you read the NIST report, you will see that we do very well across the board on different ethnicities. And and then on the right, you can see the different types of occlusions that a face can have. If you're trying to recognize somebody with sunglasses, that's an occlusion. If you're trying to recognize somebody with a scarf around their neck, that's an occlusion. So how do you recognize people in these challenging circumstances? Illumination, pose, occlusions, these are all different challenges. So these are really what boils down to our competitive advantage with OpenCV Face Recognition. As I mentioned, we are compliant with security standards and gold standards in privacy, such as GDPR. We are highly accurate. We can recognize people under challenging conditions, such as occlusions, different illumination, and our models are unlike some models which are trained mainly on frontal faces, our models are trained on a wide variety of faces across different poses, which really makes our technology suitable for practically any purpose, ranging from eKYC, anti-money laundering and onboarding, and attendance checking, or what have you. And the last and most important point is that we are very cost effective. And we are offering a free tier for you guys to sign up and try our technology. And we are 5x cheaper than Azure or AWS recognition.
That's a pretty big cost savings there. Can I pipe in just for a moment here? I noticed earlier you talked a bit about the issues that facial recognition and verification have historically had with people with darker skin tones, for example. This is a known problem, and there are myriad reasons for this issue. Obviously, bigotry is one of them, but I wonder, from your perspective, how has that improved in, say, the last 5+ years? Has there been a big movement to make this better, or is it just slowly sort of improving, or is it sort of staying the same?
There's definitely like big movements and raising this bias problem from, like there was a committee which was looking at the FBI's use of face recognition, and there was fair amount of discussion around the biases that people of color would face due to the biases, inherent biases in the number of identities for example, people of lighter skin versus people of darker skin. And being where we are in Asia, we have quite a wide variety of different types of races, ethnicities, skin color, tone, and we've tried our best to make sure that our data collection and our training does not have inherent biases that creep in due to these reasons.
Yeah, thanks for that answer.
So just to, kind of explain, like in no uncertain terms, how algorithm is better, just take a look at this particular table here. And this is from the NIST report. And, we often get asked this question, well, what about twins? So this table over here is showing the performance of our algorithm on twins versus some of the great, like the big competitors out there, including Clearview AI, Paravision, Rank One, CloudWalk. And as you can see, we are like consistently scoring smaller numbers over there on the false match rates compared to the other competitors. So we are actually doing better on twins than all of these companies. And of course, having said that, there is obviously a challenge if two twins are completely identical. But this table shows that we are doing better on this task than everyone else. So it's kind of promising to see this algorithm perform under these extremely challenging conditions.
Definitely. We've got a quick question from the audience here. Some of our viewers are unfamiliar with the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Can you just kind of briefly inform them on why this is an important metric here and why this is such a respected organization?
NIST, as you know, is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and they try to standardize many different things, ranging from cryptography to algorithms, and measure things on a scale that brings that is consistent across the board. They serve as a trusted third party and an authority, and their data sets are massive, right? So we are talking about, all visa border crossings of people of different ethnicities entering the United States. And they have massive data sets of like millions of identities that they have used in creating this benchmark called the Face Recognition Vendor Test, or FRVT. And this benchmark applies the same measurement methodology to over 300 facial recognition vendors that have submitted their models to NIST. And amongst these 300 companies globally, we were in the top 10 as of Q1 22. So it's a very, very respected, well-respected benchmark, and the competition is extremely high. As you can see from these numbers itself, you can see these numbers are like changing at the second point after the decimal. So this is like the Olympics. This is literally like the Olympics of face recognition, where differences between companies are at a microsecond level, or in this case, at a false match rate of 2 decimal points difference.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm sure Satya would have if he were here, but you filled in for him nicely there. The metaphor of, if you're just down at the local YMCA, maybe swimming some laps, the fastest person there is probably going to be much, much faster than the average person, right? But if you're competing at the super high level, at the top tier of the professional level, the differences are going to be fingertips. The differences are going to be like their toes coming off of the line. And so that's really what we're looking at here with how tight the competition is here, which makes it even, kind of more impressive how highly 7sense is able to rank in these benchmarks.
Thanks, Phil. So next, I think Fui, would you like to talk about like some of the real world applications of face recognition?
Sure, I'll take it up from here. So as you can see, like we offer, face recognition in general have two parts. One is to many and one is to one. So for example, for one is to many on the security surveillance point of view, that you are trying to catch a suspect, you're trying to catch some from government, from police department, they're trying to catch some bad guys, and they have a database that stores all those whitelist or blacklist people. So from there, you can identify from the CCTV and video recording, and can do real-time matching whoever is stored in marked as in database. So this is one aspect that most people, governments, police department, defense department are using in this area. Second one, in the financial area, so this is more on the 1:1. So for example, when you're trying to, some banks already implemented, when you're trying to log in their internet banking or mobile banking, or when you try to onboard a new customer in the banking systems, you want to verify if this person holding their passport, their ID are actually the person, same as the passport owner itself. So from this angle, some very lookalike person, it can try to fake a password, they can try to fake an image in the password, so on. So in the face recognition, they can use the technology to catch such an error, such a false. And also when you do money transfer, such a big money transaction in the bank or in other financial institution, you want to verify this person is authorized to do such a big transaction, and to catch some some in the process, it helps to streamline and reduce the cost. For another part, attendance checking, like most of university schools or organization for employee checking, I think is commonly known on 1:n. So when you have a database of students or your employee, then user they come into the company, come to the school. So in the camera or in the CCTV, in the video, they will just automatically catch how many people in that one frame, and automatically tracking, okay, these people are actually within the database, within our authorized employees. Then some unknown user who are not inside our database are, we could investigate further, trigger an alert, or do we want to see, okay, is it something we should look into this unknown person, or yeah, so it can be using as tracking, also can be as alert in these areas.
So this is the great part about our technology, that we are offering you this technology as an API, and as an API, what you build with it is really up to your imagination. And we've just tried to kind of highlight some of the areas that where we are seeing uptake of face recognition technology, and especially in the financial sector, identity verification, as Fui mentioned, is a massive market, and a lot of banks want to greatly reduce their risk. So if they can avoid, and their cost. So if they can avoid, somebody actually going and comparing these two documents, two humans doing this, and that they can shorten that lead time from giving out that loan or opening an account. If they can shorten it down from days to hours, that's a big win for them. And again, with attendance, this is a very ethical use case, whether it's at an organization. It may not just be attendance, it may be access control as well. But also we see this increasingly as an important use case for blue collar workers at places like construction sites, where absenteeism can be a problem in many parts of the world. So by employing a system that can track attendance automatically, greatly reduces the risk of corruption, like mistakes, people not being able to mark attendance correctly, and all that can be automated. So these are some of the real world applications, but these are not the only applications, obviously. So we're really hoping that you will kind of imagine some very cool new applications using our API when you actually get down to using it.
Couple quick notes
ado,
here.
yeah.
A couple quick questions here. The audience was asking. They didn't understand the acronym EKYC. That stands for Know Your Customer or Know Your Client. It's just sort of a shorthand meaning like, can you kind of verify who this person is? And also, one of the just me being me, I'd have to point out that it seems like with a lot of these attendance tracking systems, for some reason they never actually try to track the attendance of the executives. I wonder why that is.
Well, I mean, that's it's up to the company how they want to use it.
Just
much,
bringing it up.
We'll move on to the demo segment, and we'll start off outside the website, where we are assuming you don't have an account right now. So if you just go to opencv.fr and you click on demo, you'll actually see 4 tabs here, which demonstrate 4 different aspects of our technology. So the first one is face comparison, and the biggest use case for this is identity verification, EKYC, and it's used a lot in the financial industry. And the great part about this particular method is that whatever information you upload to the API is not stored anywhere. And we've spent a lot of effort in making sure that our systems are secure. We are complying with GDPR regulations. So this API basically allows you to select an image, and I'll select my image over here, one image. And then just to demonstrate like how like it can perform in challenging circumstances, I will try to do an impersonation of Satya and see how that works. And you can see that was a great match score there, 82.75%. And you can see these images are quite different.
I like your cosplay here. It's
it's an old photograph. I just put it up.
I like the way you introduced it. It's Satya cosplay. It's excellent.
Thanks. So yeah, you can see this is the second photograph has a lot of challenging things happening about it. There is the occlusion of the glasses. There is the occlusion of the hat. The illumination is not uniform. It has a lot of dark shadows around it.
A little bit of an angle too. It's not directly on. There's many differences here. Yes.
Yeah. So, and still we got a pretty high match score, which is great. So you can, this is how, like, where we shine in comparison with other companies is because, we emerged from projects that we did, for example, with the Singapore Armed Forces here, and the kind of circumstances that we had to operate in are extremely challenging. And the tests, the kind of the battery of tests that we have been subject to has also been very challenging, from actually people holding a lux meter, which is a device to measure the amount of light that is present, and actually measuring the kind of illumination under which this algorithm can perform. So we've kind of come out of that background, and that's how our technology is very robust. So the next demo that I'm going to give is another very important part of our technology offering, which is anti-spoofing. So apart from face recognition, you also want to know whether the person in front of the camera is a real person, or is somebody trying to kind of fool the system with holding up a photograph or a tablet or a video playing on a tablet. So for that, to solve this problem, we also have a liveness or presence attack detection, or anti-spoofing. These three terms are used interchangeably, which is liveness, presence attack detection, and anti-spoofing. So if we select one of these images from the left, this image of Angela Jolie, you can see the API is saying that this is actually not a real photograph of Angela Jolie. This image as well, which is a printout, again, it is saying that this is not a real image. But this image, which is actually a real image captured from a high resolution camera, should pass. So with this technology,
folks, if I can butt in once again, folks are asking in the chat, you can go check this out yourself right now at OpenCV.fr get your own live demo here. Sorry, go ahead, Vera.
Yep. And there's a video that we've kind of put together as well, which you can watch, which kind of explains this technology further.
Excellent.
And then the third one, this is the 1:n case, where you may have a large number of people enrolled, their faces, their feature vectors, not their faces. Their feature vectors are kind of stored in a database, and then you are trying to find a given image, who does it resemble closely in the database. And again, the thresholds for this is something that you can decide. So you can be pretty lenient, or you can be pretty strict. As we saw earlier in the comparison, 82 is a pretty strict threshold, but you can see the range of images that it was matching even with that strict threshold. But if you wanted to match, like Satya had posted on his one of his LinkedIn posts, he had actually compared his current photo with his photo when he was 18 years old. If you want to do those kind of comparisons, then a threshold value of around 66 would be great. And that actually when we launched initially, we had a demo on the OpenCV website, which had that threshold value, and you could actually compare. So let me just click on this old image of Johnny Depp, and you can see there is an enrolled feature vector of him in the database. You can see it's actually matching these two faces quite well. And the score is 71.
Have you tried it, like, as, for example, one of the characters that some of these actors and actresses have played with, like, heavier makeup or very different hair, like, say, would Edward Scissorhands pop as Johnny Depp, or would I mean, yeah, like I can think of quite a few examples of this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so we've tried actually. There was the Tom Cruise movie, Tropical Thunder, where he had like heavy makeup on, and he had prosthetics happening. And actually, if you log into our website, if you register for an account and actually log in the tutorial video, the Python video, we are actually showing you examples of this, where it is recognizing Tom Cruise with all those prosthetics and makeup and all those challenging circumstances, and it works.
Cool.
So the last piece is basically face detection, and I'm sure this is a very common problem. And I mean, OpenCV has many face detectors within the library itself. However, those detectors are based on older techniques such as Haar cascades or histogram of gradient methods, whereas our techniques are purely based on deep learning. So you get pretty good accuracy. So let me, for example, select this image, and you will see all the faces are detected. And we, in addition to giving you the detected faces, we also give you the key points of the eyes, nose, and mouth. And you could actually use these key points for various sort of things. Fun things like using the key points and putting some kind of virtual makeup or masks or various things. Or you could use it for like ensuring a consistent pose from the images, making sure that the landmarks are consistently located. So making these images upright or aligning them as it is known as. So you can use this feature in many ways. But of course, there are various other face detectors that are out there, and we just expose this as an API, and this one is much more accurate than the ones out there. Even with face recognition, the OpenCV library actually has a few older methods of face recognition, such as Fisher faces and Igen faces. And those are more classical methods of face recognition. And this particular product is bringing the state-of-the-art machine learning and AI-based methods and bringing it to you as an API, which you can consume from practically any device, because all you need is network connectivity. And the bandwidth that is required is also not that much. You just need to submit a well captured image of a person to the API. For liveness and anti-spoofing, the requirements are a little more stringent. The photographs need to be more frontal. They need to be higher resolution. But if you're doing face comparison, or if you're doing face search, we can work on extremely small images as well, which are like 200 pixels by 200 pixels. So these are some of like the great things about this API. So let me now show you what happens when you sign up for an account. So assuming that you've watched this webinar and developed some interest in our product and you've signed up. So this is what you'll see when you log in. So there are few key pieces of information on this screen. The first one is your developer key. And this is the key that you need to make any API calls into the product, and you can copy it by clicking this button here. Then obviously you have the documentation here as well. So if you click on the Python SDK, for example, it'll take you to a nice documentation page, which talks about the Python pip package, which you can simply get started by installing this. And you would only need your developer key to get started. Pip install OpenCV Face, OpenCV-Face Recognition, and you're good to go with this developer key, which you can copy from here. We've also included a Google Colab notebook here. So if you don't want to write your own code, just want to step through some pre-written code, you can actually open the Colab notebook and step through the code. Just substitute your developer key with the one that you get from this dashboard, and your region as well. So if you go back to the Python SDK, you can see we are offering the service in 3 regions. And this is basically related to data residency. And the GDPR and EU are quite strict about ensuring that the data does not leave the EU. Similarly, Singapore also has privacy laws. In Singapore, there is the Personal Data Protection Act. So for that reason, we also have a region in Singapore. And the Personal Data Protection Act is a pretty strong piece of legislation that has emerged in this region, and like a lot of people can actually benefit from that and use the Singapore region for serving other Asian countries around it. And of course, then we have the US region, and you would probably want to select the US region if you're from the US, because apart from the data residency, there are also benefits of latency. Because if you select, for example, the Singapore region and you're making an API call from the US, your data is going to travel all the way from the US to Singapore and all the way back. So the round trip latency is an important component as well. So with the region selected and the developer key selected, you could actually go and start using this with the pip package. You could also substitute those values in the Google Colab notebook. We also have a C++ SDK, which you can basically calls this API from C++. And we have the REST API. So I'll show you the REST API today because you can use it directly straight away from the browser. So if you click this, this is the REST API. And
got one quick question from the audience here on the difference between the REST API and the Python and C++ flavors of the SDK. Do the Python and C++ versions require internet connectivity to function, or can they be completely on the edge?
They require, this is an API product. So all the SDKs actually call the API. So we do have an on-premises version of this product. So that basically brings this REST API to your own servers and your own network. But once you do that, you could use those SDKs with your own server on your own network, but it is still an API product. So whether it's deployed on the cloud or whether it's deployed on premises, it's an API product.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
So, so this is basically like if you wanted to use curl, you could just, substitute a region here and your API key, and you could get started with this. So this page, obviously you must be thinking it looks so dated. So we do actually have another version of this documentation, which is the redoc version. And this redoc version is easier to read, but you can't use it directly from the website. Whereas this live docs page, you can use directly from here. So to use this live docs page, I need to authorize first. So to authorize, I need my API key, which I can go here to my dashboard and copy. And now once I've copied this API key, I can paste it here. And now all my API calls that I make from here are going to be authenticated. So let's make a very simple API call first. So let's get collections. So collections are basically groups of persons. So let's say you had a you were a large company, you had a finance department, you had an HR department, you had various departments, and you wanted to kind of group people up into collections, what we call collections. So this is the API to use. So I've already authenticated myself over here. So if I click try it out, I can just hit the execute button. And you can see over here, I have this collection already. It will show you all the collections. And there's also paging over here. So you could skip a certain number of records and take a certain number of records. So you could do paging with this. You can change the order in which the collections are returned. And you can also do a search. So for example, let's say I wanted to search by this ID. And you could, when you create these collections, you can specify your own ID, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Apparently not the ID field. But if I used, for example, the name, and I used only part of the name, you would see that it is actually searching through the collection and giving you the result. And this is a very simple API call. So let's make a little an API call that's a little more complex. So This is a compare call, which is exactly what you saw on our demo page. So our demo page is actually using this endpoint under the hood. So to actually make this call, I need two faces. And in the parlance of face recognition, when you're doing matching or comparisons, there's typically a bunch of faces which are known as a gallery, and another one or more faces, which is the probe. So it's trying to match the probe with the gallery images. And so to do this, I need to kind of take my face, take my photos of my face and convert them to base 64 first. So I'll go to a website here, which I use, base 64 encode image online guru. It's just a personal preference. You could use any website or you could use any library. You can choose a file here, and I'm going to change. So there's one string. Make sure that I am not. And in the meanwhile, let me grab the other string. And just for good measure, let's choose the algorithm here. And there you see, this is the score. And if you recall, this was exactly the same score that we got on the face comparison demo page when I put these two images together. So under the hood, that page is actually calling this API. So you could build a page like that or anything else you like. And this is the compare endpoint. I showed you the collections endpoint. You can create collections. You can update collections. You can do all of this stuff. You can add people to collections. You can do all of this stuff through the API. You can also add persons here, and it works exactly the same way. So it's a REST API. When you want to add a person, you do make a post request. When you want to get a person, it's get, delete. All the HTTP verbs are used as per the REST API. I am not going to show you the creation of a person, but you can see that the request is very similar. You have an ID, you have a name, you have a bunch of images. You can specify up to 3. For better accuracy, you can have the same person in different illumination conditions or poses. However, the algorithm is super accurate, and as I mentioned, like we've been working with very challenging circumstances, so one image should usually be enough. But if you're dealing with some very old images or very challenging conditions, you can use more than one image. And there are some attributes you can add. These are all optional. You don't need to use any of them. And that's about it. So once you actually use this API, you will also be able to use our UI to see what's going on here. So for example, the persons that you have added through the API are going to show up if I go to the persons tab over here. And you can see I have a whole bunch of images that I enrolled, including one of myself. So I can also, in addition to using the API, I can use this UI. So I could select this image of me and then do a search through the UI. And as you can see, it matched. So you have many different ways that you can use this product. You can use it through the API to enroll persons, use this dashboard to actually search for persons, or add persons through the UI itself. If you don't want to use the API, you could use the UI to add a person as well. You have collections here, same thing with collections. You can add a collection through the UI or the API. and you can go click on the collection, and you can see who are the persons that are inside that collection. You can add more people to this collection. You can remove people from this collection. Then in the dashboard, you see this API key here, but in production systems, you would probably not want to use the same key for your developer and production systems. So we also have the concept of developers here. And this, of course, needs a higher plan, and I'm on the free plan. But what you can do is you can add more developers, and each developer that you add has their own API key. So you could actually have a role-based account such as production, and you could add that over here, and you could use that production key for production as opposed to your dev key, which you use while developing the code. And this also helps because when you add people through this particular screen as developers, you can set rate limits. And this is particularly useful because when you're developing the software, you don't want to make a mistake where you've written a for loop and it's kind of going on and on, running, and it's consuming your whole quota and it's hitting your rate limits. So you can create different developer accounts here with smaller rate limits so that you don't run into that snag. And then just kind of go back here to show you our plans briefly. So we have a free plan, which basically, if you sign up, you get 1,000 API calls per day. You get 500 maximum number of people registered. You get face search, you get face verification, but you have to keep using it to keep it. So if you don't use it for more than 15 consecutive days, that account is just going to go away. And this is not to punish you or anything. This is also to comply with GDPR, which includes the right to be forgotten. And we don't want to retain your data for any longer than we need to. So that's what you have on the free tier. On the starter tier for $19 a month, you get 2,000 API calls per day, 1,000 max persons registered. You get face search, you get face verification, you get everything in free, but more. And then with the $99, the quotas are more. Standard, you get all the features, including multiple developers. And with the enterprise plan, again, more limits. Some of these plans from basic onwards have the additional feature for you to actually enable liveness. So if you wanted liveness as a feature, that's an additional cost to you, because this is a premium API and we are probably the best in the world at this. So you can watch the video in the demo section and you'll know why. So you can turn this feature on and off, and then that changes the base price of your plan. And that's pretty much it. This is OpenCV Face Recognition.
Awesome. Thanks so much for this great demo and presentation. I think it's about 9:55. It's time to do our giveaway. So folks out there in the audience, before we get to a little bit of Q&A, we're going to do our giveaway. You in the Zoom audience watching us at OpenCV.live will now have the opportunity to win the OpenCV course of your choosing if you are the first person to answer the trivia question, which I have created based on today's slides. As per usual, if you have won in the last couple of months, please do not answer and give other people a chance to win. Again, the winner will receive the OpenCV course of their choosing. You can see what courses are available by going to opencv.org/courses. And even if you don't win, you can still go there and improve your professional standing, learn a little something. It could be for fun, it could be for business. These courses are professionally produced by experts in their fields, and I truly believe they are the best available. So check those out with whether or not you win today. Today's trivia question is being asked by me now. Answer in the Zoom chat, nowhere else. Earlier, we talked about the NIST face recognition challenge, which is a very well-respected benchmark and which 7th Sense technology is placed in the top 10. In what year was the National Institute of Standards and Technology founded originally? First person to answer in chat wins the OpenCV course of their choosing. Gianpaolo, I don't know if I can give this one to you, man. Like that, I'm gonna have to put this up on when I edit the episode. I'll put it in a little lower third. You technically got the number right, but that was a very odd copy paste. I think I'm gonna have to give this one to Niraj. The answer is 1901, and the complexity there was in 1901, the National Bureau of Standards was founded, and that was the name of what is now known the National Institute of Standards and Technology until 1988. So congratulations, Niraj. Please send one email to phil@opencv.org with the course you would like. Once again, you can go to opencv.org/courses to see what courses are available. Pick whichever one you want. Obviously, this does not cover any of the bundles, just individual courses. We've got a whole bunch of questions here. Thanks so much for answering some in the chat as we were talking here. I'm going to repeat a couple because you gave some very good answers. I think we've already covered this one in the pricing. Ken asked, does the free version include the liveness module? I think there was some test calls there. Would you like to answer that one?
Yeah.
So the free version does not include liveness, and liveness is a premium feature. You have to pay for it in addition to your base subscription. In addition to that, there is also a per transaction cost for liveness, which is not part of the standard plans. The reason for this is that the biggest use case for liveness is in the financial industry, and in those scenarios where we were talking about eKYC and anti-money laundering, etc. So this is a premium feature that large organizations typically use. In the future, we might look at if we can introduce a lighter version of this, which is not so I would say financial industry grade, but at the moment it's definitely at that level that this feature is offered.
I think there was a little. There you go. Go ahead, Fee.
We have a new feature actually just launched yesterday. So for newly signed up user who use business email, they will be offered 15 liveness free tests. So literally 15 liveness API call they can use in the free tier, in the free which is trial period. So trial period, which is 30 days. You have 30 days to try this 15 liveness, but beyond this 30 days, after the trial period, you'll be auto downgrade to free tier. In that free tier, this liveness, whichever you haven't used, it will be omit. So it won't applicable to the free plan. That's the official plan name. So, but this feature is only applicable for newly registered business user. For some existing user, I know you are very keen to try, and I have been, this new feature, why we introduced, actually we have heard a lot of requests from you, but to offer, we might need to do some manual setup. So if you really eagerly want to try, so please write in fr@opencv.org. So we will need to, based on the request basis, to see how we can help you on that.
And
Awesome.
I'd like to kind of add to that when you actually do sign up for the free tier, when you actually sign up for the trial, the free trial, where you get these liveness calls are only available if you use your business email. So if you use your Gmail or personal email, you're not gonna get these liveness calls. Another little word of caution is that these liveness calls require high resolution images. So if you use low resolution images, you might get errors like face too small. And if you try to use low quality images, you might get some errors. So if you do sign up for the trial and decide to try this feature out, do use good quality, high resolution images. because that is the primary use case for this, where these images are actually being captured by a real camera and are not, spoofs. So you do need high resolution images to try this API.
What counts as high resolution for y'all? Like how what pixel size
So
and density counts as high res here?
So standard camera resolutions are good, like 720p,
Okay.
1080p. Those are good. Also, the face has to be reasonably close to the camera. It doesn't, I mean, if you're trying to do liveness detection for a face that's too far away from the camera, that's not gonna work because your face is again too small. And we do need like high quality pixel level features for our deep learning algorithms to be able to differentiate between printed or fake images and real ones.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thanks for that. I've got a couple more questions here. Alex would like to know, is it possible to run OpenCV face recognition locally, like say using an OAK-D camera, for example?
So as I mentioned earlier, this particular product is designed to be an API product, and you can actually install it on premises. You can install it on a computer in your own office, and you can then make API calls to that computer, whether it doesn't have to be a computer, it could be a Docker image on a VM or what have you, but it is still an API product. We are in the future probably gonna think about creating edge SDKs, but that is not the scope of this particular product that we're talking about right now.
That makes sense to me. Thanks for that answer. Got a couple more. One more question was about face masks. We didn't really see many. So I saw like there was an example of somebody wearing maybe a turtleneck or something. What about the different varieties of personal protective equipment, like this cloth masks or half respirators, things like that?
So with as I showed you that, like, there were some cases where I had demonstrated some occlusions. I don't really have an image with somebody wearing a mask, but we were actually operating during COVID, and quite a few organizations were using our technology during COVID. And there were a lot of face masks involved during that time. And it worked pretty well, even with face masks. But if you have a variety of inclusions, then that definitely makes it a lot more complex. If you have protective eye gear and face mask and a helmet, that I'm pretty sure it would become quite challenging to match, and especially if, for example, we do have users who are using our technology at construction sites. That's why I know these things. But at construction sites, also the illumination can be quite challenging because the cameras are typically, it can be, you can have the sun behind you, and there are a lot of different challenging situations that can occur. Having said that, we do a lot better than other competitors out there. If you were to compare us with the same conditions with other technology providers out there, you would find our technology does pretty well.
All right, appreciate that. Yeah, we're about 5 minutes. We're about 5 minutes past the hour, so I guess we can call it a day. Thank you so much to our two guests, Varun and Fuyi. Thank you for sharing with us today. This was a really interesting presentation. I think the audience got a lot out of it. Hopefully, they're going to go sign up and check out OpenCV Face Recognition at OpenCV.fr. You can do that right now. It is free. There's a free tier, so go ahead and check it out. We'll be back, of course, next week. The same bat time, same bat channel. Thursday, 9 a.m. Next week's guest is, as of yet, a secret, so stay tuned for that. Lastly, and most importantly, thank you so much to the audience, all of you out there, for joining us. We really appreciate seeing you each and every week here on Zoom, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, etc. We wouldn't be doing this show if you didn't watch it. Please let us know what you think by emailing newsletter@opencv.org or filling out the survey that will be sent to you via email after this episode if you watched on Zoom. Take care of yourselves out there, folks. Take care of somebody else if you can, and have a great day wherever you may be. Thanks so much for watching this episode of the webinar. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to tap the little bell icon to be notified when new episodes drop. This week's episode was brought to you by OpenCV Courses. Learn computer vision and AI from the best at opencv.org/courses. If you'd like to be in the audience next week, subscribe to the OpenCV newsletter.